Fantasy football busts of week 4. First things first, Bengals, enough is enough. What do you want us to do? My calf feels like it got run over by a Zamboni. Joe, stop playing
Jordan
that.
Love is your quarterback. Jordan Love. Jordan Love is a project quarterback, played 2 games his final year in college against top 25 teams, and all he did is throw interceptions. Jordan Love.
Mad Dog, are you buying what Stephen A is saying?
You're a phony. That is unbelievable. Because Jerry Jones takes it in a helicopter once in a while, all of a sudden you like the Cowboys? You know, they can win.
Did I say I like the Cowboys?
Well, they can get to the Super Bowl, I'm okay with it.
What I said is
come on.
they've suffered enough. They've suffered. Chicago Bears are trash. Let's just call it what it is. They're not a good organization. Okay, you really breaking it down. Look at me when I'm talking.
You haven't seen the Lions. Now you have, and the rest of the NFC has to be a little nervous there. David Montgomery rushed for 121 yards, 3 touchdowns.
The Rush Report.
Hello, Rush World. Nick and I are back for our one and only Rush Report of the season, and it's a recap of everything that's happened this season. Nick, I don't even want to ask how you're doing after an embarrassing exit from the Bigs, but how are you doing?
Fantasy football is stupid.
I agree, especially the regular season. Regular season doesn't count. Regular season doesn't matter.
Only the playoffs.
Oh, man. This was a weird fantasy football season. What were some things that stuck out to you this year? You and I have talked individually a few times throughout the season, but really we haven't spent a lot of time connecting with each other because of our busy schedules. What were some things that stuck out to you this year?
No, there's very little consistency. I mean, but then I was looking at the waiver wires every week. There's almost nothing. So that presumably tells me everybody drafted well.
Yeah, I mean, it was at one point in the season, I think it was week 6, week 7, sent out the message on Discord from 1st to 14th, 2 games separated, 1st to 14th. And then the last place person went on a 6-game losing streak, but we won't talk about that. It's not about how you finish the regular season. It's all about how you finish the playoffs, right, Nick?
Sure, if that's what you want to say.
Oh, man. For those of you who didn't realize, I finished the regular season in last place, so I had to win 2 out of 3 matchups. Nick finished the regular season in, was it 11th? 12th? 12th. And he got bounced in the first round of the playoffs and will be joining Shane in the Wii League. Sorry,
Dave
Shane.
and I are going to the bottom.
Dave and you and Caleb, but we'll get into that. I just thought we would do a recap and look at some of the matchups. Congratulations to Darren. I'm sure this is what was playing for him on Monday night, especially as the 3-time winner of this league now. I think he's won it 3 times since we've been in it, and I don't know if he won it before, but congratulations to Darren. Nate put up a good fight. And how can you not love Nate's name? The Lombardi Trophy. The tongue twister. But congratulations to Darren on a season well done.
Yeah, three since 15 at least.
3 since 15. Congratulations, Darren. That's all I have to say about that. But no, I'm kidding. But some things stood true this year in the playoffs. The number 1 seed lost in the first round. How ironic is that?
Oh, goodness gracious. Wasn't that Craig?
Craig lost in the first round. Also, let's see, getting diggy with it. Sam was the 2 seed. He lost in the first round. And then also Mark lost in the first round. So 3 of the top 4 seeds lost in the first round. Dan was the only one who made it out of the first round and into the semifinals, where he just didn't quite have what it took to overcome Nate in that second round.
Yeah, it's very big and telling. I mean, a lot of upsets. I mean, Nate looks like he's had a rough first week, but then he did okay up until the finals. I mean,
yeah, I mean, if we look at the matchup, I've got the matchup right here. Look at this. I mean, how can you complain with this? Bryce Young against Bo Nix in the championship round. Who had that? I said that on Discord. Who had that on their bingo card?
who went with Bryce Young as their quarterback?
That's a bold move, Darren, but it paid off as he ended up with having Jahmyr Gibbs and Derrick Henry go off. But then I think the highlight was Jalen McMillan. I thought Jalen McMillan would have a good game. I did not think he would have a 20-point game. So, and Nate a little bit unlucky, but he didn't have the points to overcome a 26-point deficit.
Yeah, even if you look at most points for, I mean, I don't really. Jaylen Warren helped a little bit, and Amari helped a little bit, but still.
Yeah. Yep. So Nate, congratulations on a season well done. And Darren, once again, congrats on being a champion. We go back to the brackets here. Third place, Dan against Jeffrey. A quality matchup here. Two good teams. Really, two different types of teams too. If you look at Jeffrey's team, he's got the younger guys, Brian Thomas, Malik Neighbors, and Marvin Harrison Jr., even though he didn't play Marvin Harrison, against T. Higgins, Calvin Ridley, and Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, both efficiency ratings are really nice, but Jeffrey just didn't have it.
Yep. Sometimes you hit and sometimes you don't. You can't complain with the way. What hurt Jeffrey was Jaden Reed.
He stunk it up.
Jaden Reed did not help anything, but there was nothing on the bench for Jeffrey. So, unfortunately, that's what happened there. Fifth place in the consolation bracket. Fifth place. All right. Craig just didn't have it this year. Great regular season, but struggled in the playoffs. Could this be a foretell of what might happen to the Chiefs?
I don't know. They squeaked. They've been squeaking by. I mean, Craig's had a good season.
Yeah, I mean, 108 points in the second week of the playoffs and consolation. That's nothing to balk at. It's a good score. It just wasn't enough to pull out a win. And then against Owen, Mark had a good season in the first go around in the bigs. Owen did too. Jefferson's McGritty is Owen. Some good competition has moved up. It's always good to see that, which means teams drafted well, and we've got some competition and some young blood coming up. And Owen and Mark just came into the league 3 years ago?
Yeah,
3-4 years ago. So and he's here to stay. But then Craig against Sam, they're number 1 and number 2 in the 7th place game. Who had that?
two strong teams. I mean, Craig had Jamar Chase is always scary.
Yeah. Yep. Some crazy things happened. I mean, if we go look at that 5th place game, Owen against Mark, you see two rosters here that were good. The problem with Owen, he got hurt by poor quarterback play.
Yeah, I mean Stroud has just dropped off completely off at the end of the season for whatever reason.
He dropped off. Geno Smith turned back into New York Jet Geno Smith. But you can't argue with Justin Jefferson, and you can't fault him for starting Terry McLaurin this week over Michael Pittman.
Oh, absolutely not.
You know, if we were doing the rush report, I would have said Terry McLaurin all day long. So, but on the other side, Joe Burrow. Is Joe Burrow this year's fantasy MVP?
Yeah, strong showing despite the team's record.
Yeah, I mean, in all reality, Joe Burrow won some people their leagues this year because of the way he played this past week in Championship Sunday. I know I have him in a league that got me a dub and a championship. Not this league, but can't argue with what Joe Burrow does on a day in and a week in, week out basis.
Very solid this year. It's just doesn't always translate to the field.
It doesn't, but you see Mark's roster. Joe Burrow, Devontae Adams had a poor year, but Adam Thielen had a comeback season after injury. TJ Hawkinson, it was good to see him back. And even on the bench, Brock Purdy, he's a valuable fantasy quarterback.
Yeah, he's putting up numbers every single week, and that's the thing. It's not the on-field W's. It's about fantasy points, and he's relevant.
Yeah. So two good matchups, and then in the 7th place matchup, Sam and Craig. I mean, Jaden Daniels, offensive rookie of the year, offensive fantasy rookie of the year. You can't go wrong with Jaden Daniels this year.
Nope. Very, very much got slept on.
And honestly, the way Jaden Daniels played this year, Jaden Daniels very well could be the next quarterback that's a big keeper. If you decide to keep a quarterback, Jaden Daniels is short on that list with his running ability and his throwing ability. I love watching Jaden Daniels play.
Yeah, he's a very exciting young player. I mean, very accurate and gets around the field very quick.
Yep. And then on the other side, Russell Wilson. We don't talk about Russell Wilson in this house.
Oh, Russell.
But then David Montgomery, it looks like we had Sam forget to set a roster. Because David Montgomery's been out for 2 weeks. But I don't think there's enough there really to overcome what Craig had.
Yeah.
Which is good to see. So even if a roster can't get set, that's where we're at. Then we get to the relegation bracket. Do we want to go to the relegation bracket?
We can skip it.
I think we need to hit the relegation bracket. 6 teams, and 4 of those 6 teams were in the playoffs last year. You had myself, yourself, Christy, but then Dave. Us 4 were in the playoffs last year, fighting for a championship. And one of us did win a championship last year. Sorry, Nick. Going from first to worst, myself, but then there was you. But in the first round, I won't lie, I got lucky. I got very lucky. And I think I even texted you at the beginning of the playoffs. I would much rather have the road that I had versus the road that you had. Just because Brian had a very good team this year. It's just that they were inconsistent all year long.
Yep. And it all triggered at the right time for him against me.
Yep. And your team, you had pieces, they just were inconsistent.
Injured or yeah. It was a mishmash.
So unfortunately in the first week of the playoffs, you and Dave did lose and ended up getting relegated. So Dave's avoided relegation in the past. You've avoided relegation in the past. And then we move to the second round where Brian beat Christie in a big win. And I beat Caleb by a 1.5. I'm sure you've done this before going into Sunday Night Football when you are in a close matchup. That week 16, Mike Evans against CeeDee Lamb on Sunday Night Football. I needed to gain 3 points, and I got the 3 points, luckily. And so I avoided relegation, and I'm really glad I did, because when we get to the last chance bracket, Christie had a phenomenal week this past week. So that brings us to the best of the worst, and at least I was good at something this year.
Better to
Too
be
soon?
better to be good at something than bad
Yeah.
at everything.
True. But I mean, if we look at the matchup here, with Lamar Jackson, James Cook, Jerome Ford getting injured early was a disappointing thing for Brian, and really that made all the difference in the world.
Yeah, I mean, besides his Alec Pierce move, I mean, which there's no reason to really start him.
Yeah, right.
I mean, overall efficiency ratings are really, I've been looking at, and it's really interesting to see.
Yep. And then, like, the other thing was I had CeeDee Lamb, and on Friday of last week he goes on season-ending IR, so it would have been a tough uphill climb for me.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm glad that I avoided the relegation early. And I don't know about you, I really did not like Wednesday games, Christmas Day games. That was awful.
It was
for fantasy.
5 days worth of football. It was too much.
It was. By Sunday, I was ready to be done with football. So
Yeah, they need to change that.
they do. And then we go to the promotion bracket. We'll come back to the last chance bracket for the bigs. But promotion. Coming up to the bigs, Matt is making his return. Is it safe to say Matt is Mr. Analytical of this league?
Just a little bit.
And then Brandon is back up. So two guys brought it to come back up. What do you see that's interesting in the Wii League? Honestly, because we didn't do the rush report this year, I did not pay tons of attention to the Wii League.
Yeah, I had no idea what was going on.
So I kept track of records and standings, but that was about it. And Matt will have the pick of the litter next year between your team, Dave's team, and Caleb's team.
Yeah.
Caleb's team. I had to think for a second. But Matt, congratulations on making it back up. Same to you, Brandon. If we look at that matchup, I mean, when I got to look at some of these teams, I mean, these are two good teams. Jaden Daniels, Josh Allen, Jahmyr Gibbs, James Cook. Brandon got hurt with the Chuba Hubbard being deactivated right before the game on Sunday. So that hurt. He could have made some moves, but it wouldn't have been enough.
No, there's really nothing there.
But and then, I mean, Matt's team, Josh Jacobs, Kyron Williams, AJ Brown, Jamar Chase, Brock Bowers. You can't argue with that lineup.
Nope.
So in all reality, the Wii League championship is what you would expect to see out of quarterbacks and those types of rosters, especially in a 9-man league.
Mm-hmm.
So, congratulations to Matt and Brandon for coming back up. And then, if we look at the last chance, Shane had it, then lost it. And coming back up, Chad will be making his return to the bigs. If you look at this hurts. This hurts for Shane. Shane had the points on the bench. J.K. Dobbins, T. Higgins, even Juwan Jennings, like the points were there for him.
It just happens. I mean, that negative points on defense is never good, but that still didn't really make or break it for him.
It didn't, but you look at the other side, Baker Mayfield. If it wasn't for some of the seasons that we were having, I mean, Baker Mayfield has a legitimate argument to be an MVP candidate. 42 touchdown passes. He's thrown too many picks, but 42 touchdown passes, you can't argue with that.
No.
And then Saquon Barkley, he's an MVP candidate. And then Debo finally remembered how to play football this past week. Amon-Ra, he's always consistent. George Kittle was the safety blanket. You can't argue with Chad's roster.
Nope, it was a good roster.
It's a very good roster. And then, I mean, Shane, I have this to say. At least it wasn't like last year where you couldn't win a game. At least you got a chance to come back up. But it is frustrating when you're the best team all season and then lose out in the consolation in the last chance game. So, and then we come to the final game, the staying alive game, where Caleb lost to Christie, and if you go back and look at it, this is the third year in a row that Caleb has lost this game. But because of somebody not coming back in the bigs, Caleb ends up staying up in the bigs.
So everybody needs to come back.
So everybody needs to come back because Caleb has. Should we just make a thing right now that if somebody doesn't come back, the top 4 teams come up from the Wii League? Can we say that?
Caleb has to go down.
There's got to be some punishment for playing in this game 4 years in a row and losing it, or 3 years in a row.
Oh, Caleb.
But then you look at this matchup. I mean, Christie's team was a juggernaut that just couldn't get right at the right time. You have Josh Allen, Chase Brown, Jonathan Taylor. Tyrone Tracy had a nice rookie season. And she started Romeo Doubs over Jameson Williams. I don't hate that move. I don't like starting 2 receivers from the same team. So starting Dobbs over JMO isn't a bad move, but Amon-Ra, I mean, that's the namesake right there. You're not going to not start Amon-Ra.
Amon-Ra.
And then on the other side, it hurt Caleb to not have Jalen Hurts. And then when you get a 0 from any position, let alone your tight end, I mean, it's your tight end, so that doesn't kill you, but it hurts when you have a 25-point performance from somebody, and that's almost half your points.
Yeah, I mean, losing your quarterback was the biggest problem for him, considering there's really nobody else.
Yeah. I mean, Michael Penix wasn't a bad pickup, but it's difficult, and so Caleb didn't have a bad season. The final standings just weren't there. So if we go back and look at the final standings, I mean, they look like this. Craig finished the regular season 10-4, with Sam at 9-5, Dan at 9-5, 3 9-5 teams. You see consistency: 8-6, then 8-6, 7-7, 6-8. We had 4 6-8 or 5 6-8 teams. So that's always good to see. And then you had Brian at 5-9, and then me bringing up the rear at 3-11. But we won't talk about that. But then in the Wii League, we have Shane, who had a dominating season at 9-2. Brandon at 10-4. Chad at 9-4. Then you had Mark Friedman at 7-6. Matt getting in at 6-6, and Daniel Ripley at 6-7. But then you had Adam and Micah and Victor missing the playoffs. So there's always next year, and hopefully next year we can fill out that Wii League.
Fill it out. Plus, hopefully won't have the same issues we did with setting up the schedule this year.
Yeah, so hopefully we can fix that. So just some fun recaps. It's not as much of a deep dive as what we would normally do, but thought we would at least get one rush report in, and hopefully next year I won't be as busy with student teaching, so I'll be able to have some time, and you'll be able to have some time. And even if it's not a weekly rush report, we can do a somewhat regular report.
It's busy life.
It is. So, but I will say this: if somebody wants to do the rush report next year, as much as Nick and I love talking fantasy football, I think we can say that we'd be willing to hand it off. And we would be willing to be guest pickers, celebrity pickers.
AI has made it a lot easier. Just gonna let you know.
But it's always good. Congratulations again to Darren for winning the bigs. Congratulations to Matt, Brandon, and Chad for getting promotion, and good luck next year to Caleb, yourself, Nick, and Dave, and as you fight to get back to the bigs. So that's all we've got. The only thing that's a wrap on the regular season, but we do have the playoff league coming up, and that'll be set up here shortly. That we'll do just like what we always do in the past, where it's a all league competition where we can just have some fun with picking playoff fantasy football.
Oh yeah, well, we'll get that set up here soon.
So be on the lookout for that. And we can go from there. I mean, it'll be good. We head into football. Any last words that you have, Nick?
Well, got a lot of anything.
That's where I'm at. So that is officially all that we have, and we will be back next year for another weekly rush league and hopefully a rush report.